He threw the glass before I even finished my sentence. It shattered against the wall inches from my face. Whiskey dripped down like tears from the wallpaper, brown, bitter, and slow. "You ungrateful little bastard," he yelled, face red, eyes wild. After all I've done for you, I stood still. My hands were trembling, but not from fear, from restraint. Years of it. My stepmother appeared in the kitchen doorway, her voice smooth as poison. "You should just help him out, sweetheart," she said softly. "He's your father." My father? That word used to mean something. He wanted $10,000. Not for the mortgage, not for bills, for his gambling. The same vice that almost took our home years ago. The same home I had saved by paying the mortgage every single month for 5 years. My name wasn't even on the deed, but his was, and that's what mattered to him. That night I didn't argue. I just said, "You'll get your answer tomorrow." And he did. When I was 15, he was my hero. He used to call me his second chance. After my mother left him, he rebuilt his life with me by his side. Or so I thought. He remarried a year later. She was the kind of woman who smiled too wide and watched people too closely. I ignored the way she whispered when I walked in. Ignored the way my father's laugh changed when she was around. I told myself family was supposed to be messy, but I was wrong. It wasn't messy, it was rotting. The first crack appeared when I found a casino statement in his drawer, dated the same week he told me he couldn't afford my college tuition. I confronted him then. He said, "You think money grows on trees." So I worked 2 jobs, paid my tuition, paid his mortgage, paid for the home I didn't own. Every time I handed him a check, he'd pat my back and say, "You're a good son." But the truth was, I wasn't his son. Not really. I was his insurance policy. When he threw that glass at me, something inside me clicked. It wasn't anger. It was clarity. The next morning, while they were still asleep, I made coffee. Strong, black, steady. I sat at the kitchen table and opened my laptop. Everything I had prepared over the past few years was already there. Numbers, transfers, passwords, documents. I had learned long ago that love wasn't enough. Paperwork was power. See, when I first started paying the mortgage, I noticed something strange. The property taxes were in arrears, small amounts neglected for years. So I quietly paid them in full. Then I filed for a lien in my own name. He never noticed. People like him rarely read the fine print. I didn't tell him, of course. I let him believe he owned everything. But in truth, the house, his pride, his symbol of manhood, his castle, had a silent owner. Me. That morning, I called the county clerk and filed the final document, the foreclosure notice on the lien. In simple terms, I repossessed my father's house. When they woke up, I was already gone, but I had left something behind. On the kitchen table, next to the shattered glass, sat an envelope. Inside the foreclosure notice, neatly folded, and a handwritten note. "You said I owed you. Consider this payment in full." No signature, just my handwriting. I moved into a small apartment that week. Quiet, clean, mine. I didn't look back. Not until a month later when my father called. He didn't yell this time. He begged. "Please," he said, voice cracking. "Your stepmother left." "I've got nowhere to go." I let the silence stretch. He filled it with apologies, with memories, with manipulation. Finally, I said, "You told me once a man has to live with his choices. Now you will." Then I hung up. A few weeks later, I drove past the old house. A moving truck was parked out front. Strangers were carrying boxes through the door, my door now. The new owner waved at me, not knowing who I was. I waved back. Through the front window, I saw my father standing in the empty living room, staring at the bare walls. His shoulders were smaller, his head lower. He looked around like a man realizing he'd built his home on borrowed time. That's when he saw me through the window. For a second, our eyes met. Recognition, regret, rage. He stepped toward the glass, but I didn't stop. I drove away. Sometimes I think about that house, about the nights I fixed his bills, balanced his lies, carried his debt. He thought control came from shouting, from power, from fear. He never understood that real control comes from silence, from patience, from letting someone dig their own grave while you quietly buy the land underneath it. Now, every payment I make is for my own home. Every dollar I save is mine. And every night I sleep without waiting for another demand, another guilt trip, another glass thrown across the room. I didn't ruin his life. I just stopped financing it. And when he asks who took his place, who became the owner, the man of the house, the one who finally said no, the answer is simple.